Okay, let's
Save by the
get
stuff.
started. If I get everybody gathered
Let the
around
bell
the
ring.
table.
Yeah, they call it North 3. I know it's a little nutty. North 3. It's like
Okay, this is class number 4. We've got 2 more classes after this. You know, just a quick preview. Today I want to continue with 8-ball. We're also going to go back and review a few things about the stroke, tangent line, position, things like that. But again, the one thing that we're always going to work on in every class is hitting the cue ball where we're aiming. And I have to tell you about a video I just saw on YouTube that was one of the best videos I've ever seen. How many of you here have heard of the Black Widow, Jeanette Reed? All right, one of the most famous and popular woman pool players of all time. You know, she doesn't compete a whole lot anymore, but now she's got to the point where she's getting lessons and instruction. And I just have to mention what she said because it was so wonderful. She was talking about the stroke. And of course she's a mother with children and all that. And she equated the pool stroke to having a child in a swing and swinging it back and forth. Now, why would that be so similar to a pool stroke?
The rhythm.
It's a beautiful momentum when the child swings back here. You notice there's a slight pause or delay. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what the pool stroke is like. In other words, and you notice that most people when they stroke the cue, they'll sometimes take the cue back and rush the cue through without completing the backstroke. But if you have a child swinging back and forth, when they come back, you gently slow down as they pause and smoothly release through them and watch them go back. You would never take the child and pull as hard as you could unless you have an older child that likes a little drama and all that. But anyway, try to get that feel for what that's like. Because the stroke and pool is not a muscular hit or a jab or trying to guide the cue. It's got to be consistent. The stroke has to be a natural release. If I release, you notice when I release the cue through, it's actually staying level and going right through my hand like that. And when you're playing real well, I notice when I'm playing well or in the zone, my stroke is almost effortless. But when I'm not playing well, it feels like I'm pounding nails or something, okay? It's a big difference. You'll feel it in your arm and shoulder. Now, I put a quote in my handout today. I don't know if everybody got it. Let me grab it. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. And the reason why I like it so much is because it's so simple. Have you ever noticed how people will complicate things to an extreme or overthink them and all that? Well, the swoosh to me is a beautiful symbol. And what is the wording associated with the swoosh that you see on shirts?
Just good.
Just do it, exactly. And you might wonder why I put that as a quote in a pool class. But, and I'm going to get confirmation from Chuck and Carl and Brad here. Is there any other sport that you know where you have as many whiners and complainers as pocket billiards? Is it the
Little League parents.
tables off? My opponent sharked me. My tip didn't have any chalk. In other words, the excuses and the drama go on and on and especially as you get more accomplished. You wanna do that kind of thing. Now, why is just do it such an important thing? Because it's actually embracing the game, not for just winning or making a shot, but for the beauty of the sport, having fun with it and all that. And that's a key component. I remember using this quote in a lot of my previous classes, but so often we get caught up in the drama of competition, and we have to put up with people trying to get into your head and things like that, or trying to distract you and all that. And we get to the point where we get very negative, but that's really not what's important about pool. The importance of pool is enjoying the beauty of the game. Now today we're going to talk a little bit more about 8-ball, but also I do want to cover a little bit what we talked about last time. Now, let me just take one shot and then I'm going to let Carl take over. Let's say I've got a shot on the 15 ball and I want to get in position to make the 1. Now, how would you say, what would be the best way to do that?
Probably follow, get some momentum to the rail and take it back down.
All right.
There.
Now, there is such a thing, and Carl's going to give a more in-depth explanation of it, as the tangent line. So the tangent line, when the cue ball contacts the 15, is that 90-degree angle that takes it into the rail here, back to here, and in for position on the 1. But if I roll the ball, in other words, watch what happens. In other words, I'm going to hit it high and roll the ball like that. All right. The reason why it hit the rail there and came over here is because the cue ball was rolling. Now we're going to try, like a stun or a stop shot. Watch the difference. It hit here and came here. Now the cue ball is going to be sliding. So when it hits the tangent line, it's going to hit higher up on the rail and come down for position on the 1. And again, pre-shot routine. See the aim point going down. So you notice I'm hitting slightly below center.
Wow.
You see, notice how the difference. And let's try another one. Let's say the cue ball is here. How would I get the cue ball in position to make the 1? Okay, that would be one possible way. I could draw it into the rail and slide down here, or I could do the same shot, the stun, couldn't I? Because it would hit here, go here, and then slide behind the 1. So either way. So this time we'll use a little draw. You get the idea.
Amazing.
Okay. Carl is, I don't know if you know this, but Carl is a master instructor with BCA, CSI, and all that. And he, I think, has a really unique and interesting way to discuss the tangent line. So I'll turn it over to Carl.
Okay, so basically, Pete asked me because, like I said, I've been teaching for years and years. Not as long as him or anything, but I've definitely been teaching. So I'm a simple guy, so I try to keep it simple. And so for tangent line, anybody ever heard of the tangent line? You okay? All right. So we keep it simple. So in theory, if we were going to try to use stun, just like Pete said, there's no new information here or anything like that. Also for me, I teach a clock face. Okay? So all 3 weeks we've been saying high, we've been saying low. I just say 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, okay? We haven't touched 3 or 9 yet, but I just say 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and sometimes people get that, okay? All right, so if I'm just right here in the center, and this is the stun shot, just like Pete said, and we just go down and make both balls for one shot. Yeah, if you can chase balls, that'd be great. Okay? So, we just trying to hit that ball perfectly right here with center, with no high, no low, and just let that ball track right down and make 2 balls in one shot. Okay, so I try to make it really simple, all right?
You don't like that one, huh?
Okay. So I need half the class right here. Come on up, get close, sit right here. I need all you guys to come in and the rest of you right here. Okay? So, there's 2 concepts in this drill. Ghost ball theory. So that just means the 9 ball is going to represent the cue ball. Alright? And this cue ball can hit this 6 ball here, 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 or even here, and you're going to make the 6. But we want to go down to the next ball, so we have to hit it right here. So you're all on this side. You see that crack, and you're all on this side. You see this crack? I call that the butt crack. Everybody laughs, and everybody remembers, and the butt crack points to where you're going to go next, where the cue ball is going to go next. Okay? So if you hit it here, the butt crack tells you you're going to go into the rail. If you hit it here, you could scratch. If you hit it way over here, you can see the butt crack doesn't go anywhere, you're probably going to scratch. So this comes up on almost every shot in pool. If you had a ghost ball and you were going to make the 8 ball there, the butt crack tells you where the cue ball is going to go next. Any questions on that? So, that's the tangent line. Now, if you come in here and hit it perfect, and the butt crack is pointing right towards the next ball, but you have 12 o'clock, which 12 o'clock is follow. So it will take off. It'll look like, oh, I'm a hero. It's going to be awesome. And then it'll push it into the rail, because the follow pushed it into the rail. So we're back here. We take off. Everything looks great. We're going to be perfect. And what if I had 6 o'clock on? What does 6 o'clock do?
Back.
Draw. So a lot of people have trouble with that. So I say, like, you draw blood out of somebody. You draw them blood. Okay? So it's draw. So we would draw it off the tangent line. Okay? It should go this way. It's all happy. We hit it in the right. The butt crack is right, but we had draw on it, so it draws it off of it. Okay? Every one of those shots will come up in pool, and you're like, hey, I can just do that, and I'm going to do this, and then I want it to draw over to my next ball. I want to start here, and I want to hit the rail and go to the next ball. Does that kind of make sense? Any questions on that? Does anybody want to shoot this?
I'll give it a go.
Okay. All right.
Where are we going?
So you're gonna find that. So you want to kind of estimate. So everybody kind of talks about aiming. So sometimes it's harder to find out the half of this ball has to hit this ball, right? Because everybody wants to just go center to center because that's much easier. Okay? But we're not going to do that. So sometimes I have my students say center ball is about right there, so you can aim on the outside to my shot. Okay? All right, go ahead. Nice smooth, center ball. So that tells us you had to draw.
That's a good tip.
Yes, yes, you got so much power. You got so
Am I
much
getting
power.
the excuses?
Good. I think Carl put it on.
They did. That's what he said.
Right.
At least it didn't fly off. Okay, so we want to be consistent. We always be right here in
And
the
spot.
center. Yeah, right on the equivalent to the spot, okay? So maybe a little higher on the cue ball, so it just naturally goes straight down. Better. Super better. Yep. And I know there's not very many times in pool that we want to make 2 balls in one shot, but this is an instant result if you're hitting the ball high, if you're hitting the ball low, things like that. All right, one more time. There we go.
Oh, wow.
There we go. But you saw how crisp that was.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Any questions on that? Anything to add?
Oh, no.
Chuck, anything to add?
Yeah.
So just remember, the butt crack points to where you're going next. So if you're here and you're like, oh, the butt crack says I go towards that pocket. Oh, but I remember if I just put a little 12 o'clock on it, it's going to push it off the tangent line and I won't scratch.
And that's why the butt crack is so important. That's where you start. You know, where does the tangent take the cue ball? And then you adjust your shot from that. Yeah.
Yeah, you adjust where you're gonna hit the object
Exactly.
ball.
Well, that and you
And that's me.
draw or follow
That's
to
me.
Meet the
That's me.
meet the tangent from one side or the other.
That's me.
So establish where you're gonna hit first,
Yeah.
then adjust the,
Adjust it accordingly.
yeah.
Good.
That's me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the first time I've ever heard tangent line called a butt crack.
No, that's pretty unique.
I know.
Oh, did you?
All right, thank you so much, Carl. Appreciate it. That was excellent. Yeah. All right, here we're going to do a few drills, and I know Chuck is very familiar with this one. We've been doing this for what, 10 or 12 years?
Something like that.
All right. It's called the L drill. And the beauty of the L drill that I want you to practice today is that it can be as easy or as difficult as I make it. In other words, you can do it with 3 balls, 5 balls, 10 balls, 15 balls. Okay, we're going to start out with the simplest one. And this one is a chance to just practice your stop shot and cut shot. So we're going to take ball in hand and pretty much put it right on the spot. And the first shot's going to be just a simple stop shot on the 6. And practice all your fundamentals, staying down, accelerating through the shot, 3-shot routine. Then you take ball in hand again, and you're going to practice putting the 9 in and then the 2. And again, every shot is a whole. Go through your whole routine right to on the line. Breathe and relax. Stay down. Make sure to accelerate the cue all the way through. And then finally you'll do the 3rd shot, which will be another cut shot to the left. And remember where the pocket is. Too many people miss it on this side. You got to make sure that the center of the pocket is the center of the outer jaw. So that's where I'm aiming to. Okay, once you get bored of that, all right, then we're going to do a little different. We're going to stay with 3 balls now, but we're going to go around the horn. We're going to go from the 8 to the 9 to the 6, or we can go from the 6 to the 9 to the 8. And again, you get ball in hand on the first shot, but you want, if you hit a ball, then you have to start over again. Or if you miss a ball, you start over again. So we're just going to roll the 8 in. I want to get on this side so I can go from the 9 to the 6. So we're beginning to play position. So we're just going to roll the 8 in. And notice the cue ball is on this side, so I can get it over for a shot on the 6. This one I'm going to put just a little bit of stun on it, so I can reach the cue ball. All right. Now we're going gonna get a little more challenging. Now, what we can do is, well, mix it up. Then when you get bored of that drill, now you make them in rotation, all right? So this time we're gonna go from the 8 to the 9 to the 15. So it gets a little harder and harder. For those of you that are more advanced, you can do it with 5 balls. In fact, that may look pretty easy, but it's not, even for a pretty good player. But how you'd want to practice this is just like we did with the 3 balls. We won't do a ball in hand on each shot, but we'll start with one end of the L and go from the 2 to the 14 to the 9 to the 8 to the 15. But what you'll notice is that you have to play position a certain way. For example, if I shoot the 2 and I end up in a certain spot like here, then I wouldn't be able to make the 14 without hitting the 9. Remember, you can't contact any of the other balls. So what I want to do is make sure when I make the 2 that I have the cue ball on this side of the 14. Now I'm in pretty good position, except I got to use the bridge, but we haven't talked about that. And this time I want to get on this side of the 9 so I can get to the 8. And notice I'm not hitting these very hard. Now this time I got a lot of angle, so I need to hit the rail and come out to be on this side of the 8. Because I don't want to get in a position where I'm over here and I have to go on a bunch of rails. So we'll just roll this in gently. Not too hard. Now I have a little draw shot because I want to make the 15 next. So you see you're using all the things you've learned so far. Remember, every shot, go through your routine. Swing down. Nice warm-up strokes. Stay down. Now I got a little bit of a stretch. Should I use the bridge again? What do you think? Or should I stretch out?
Stretch it out.
If you gotta ask the question, you need to use the bridge.
Absolutely. In fact, this is a good chance to give you a little instruction on this. The main thing about using the bridge is you got to stabilize the bridge. Too often people hold it up in the air like this.
And then they're moving it.
And you're moving the right arm and everything's moving, right? So you got to stabilize the bridge and really, really focus in on your target on this one. And you can put it to the side. If there's balls in the way, you can just do this or that. But the biggest mistake I see with using a bridge is the tip is too far from the cue ball. In other words, the arm needs to be like this, so at the very contact of the cue ball, you want the arm pretty much perpendicular to the shot. So I'm going to take a few warm-up strokes. Anyway, this you're going to play on 9-foot tables. You've got to learn how to use the bridge. And most people have derogatory terms for the bridge, like crutch or whatever. And it's not really. It's a, the snooker players, all across the world are experts at this. And the reason why they are is they play on 12-foot tables. So the bridge becomes something that you need to embrace and learn how to use at high level. All right, any questions on that L drill? Carl and Chuck and Brad and I will be coming around helping you with that. Yeah.
Just rolling it.
You're probably watching ours.
Is that a rolling ball? And not
Okay,
follow?
when you hit a pool ball easily, it's going to roll. And most of those shots were just,
Center ball?
but yeah, you can just hit the center of the ball. But see, when you hit the center of the ball easy, it starts to roll almost immediately.
Okay,
But if you hit it hard, it's gonna slide and be more like a stun.
Right, so,
Yeah.
so bowling ball and follow is not synonymous?
No.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's true. All right, a couple of other shots, and this is, hopefully you can have some fun with these shots. You know, you gotta, I call them game-winning shots. How many of you have had this shot come up, where you've got, say your solids, and your cue ball is here and your two ball is there. And unfortunately, the 12 ball is in the way. So you might wonder, well, how do I make the two ball when I have to go like into the rail first? You know, I thought I'd quickly show you this because it's a fun shot, and I think anybody can do it with a little practice. But in order to figure out where to hit the rail to make the two ball, you simply imagine a ghost ball here that pockets the two ball into the corner pocket. I look at the center of the ghost ball, I use my thumb and go to the rail, and it looks like about 3.5 inches. So I take that same 3.5 inches and double it to this side. You see how I did that? From here to here. Then from here, I simply point at the cue ball. And you'll notice the cue ball is aiming at the tip of that diamond there. So if I shoot directly at the tip of the diamond, it should hit the rail here and hit the two right there and make it. Any bets on this one? No?
And no English,
I'm
right?
kidding, I'm kidding.
No English, just center ball, right?
Well, it depends on the table.
Okay.
Sometimes, these tables play short, so I'm going to put a little left English.
Okay.
But that was my mark, right? You saw how I got that. So we're going to aim at that and hopefully make the two. Oh, I hit it a little thick, didn't I? Yeah. And
It's like
again,
baseball, it gets 3 strikes. It's like baseball, it gets 3 strikes.
With tennis,
Yep.
the second serve.
each time it's going to be a little different, so I have to recalculate. This one's going to be tougher because anyway, that's the idea. But have some fun with that. You know, set it up every time. Because you need to get a feel for how a cue ball, generally it's angle in or angle out. But a lot of times, if you hit the cue ball off center, it's going to change the direction off the rail. In fact, that's the reason we use English. English allows us to make the cue ball do different things when it hits the rail. Okay. Any questions on that?
Did you want the
Yeah.
tables broken in half so somebody could be on this half and somebody could be on that half?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could do that. Yeah.
Because we are saving the end tables. So
Right,
we're
yeah.
short one. And I can get some more cue balls too. So.
All right, yeah, we're good. We can do that. All right. Also today I wanted to ask you too, we're going to do a little more of that next week, but is there anything that we've done that you want to ask about? About what we've learned so far with the stroke, with 8-ball. Should we do one more short rack 8-ball to give you the rules a little more? Would you like to do that? Sure. All right. And I even brought my break cue today. And by the way, if you decide to become a more ambitious break player, you actually need an extra cue to break the balls with. Like I very rarely break with my playing cue because it flattens the tip. You know, I'm using all the power and all that. And not only that, you want to protect your the tip that Carl just put on your cue, to the best of your ability.
She's out there in the little room, Cece.
So is your break cue heavier, or is it the same weight?
Actually, it's gonna be a little bit lighter and shorter, because we found, most of the players have found, that you can get more velocity the lighter cue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I wanted to learn. is how to break.
You wanna do a diamond?
It's a 9-ball rack.
No, do not yet. We need 4 solids and 4 stripes. Now on the break, in 8-ball, I would generally break from the middle, but since we're playing short rack, I'll break from the wing. And if you remember from last time, the 4 went in the side pocket and the 2 over here. So those are kind of the balls you expect that might go in. I want to aim directly at the head ball and hit it as flush as I can. Not here, directly at the floor. And I'm going to use the rail too because I can get more leverage. And I'm going to hit the cue ball dead center because I don't want it to fly away. Okay. Now I did real good with the cue ball. You notice I controlled it at the center of the table. The floor came pretty close, but I think another ball kicked into the corner pocket. Pretty good.
So do you play that as open, or are you stuck with
Yeah,
what you made?
yeah. In
So-
fact, since I made a ball, I have not established my grouping. It's based on your first called shot establishes whether or not you have solids or stripes. So it's not important what I made there. I made a solid.
Yeah.
All right. And if I would have scratched, my opponent would get the cue ball in hand anywhere on the table to set it where they want. Now, 8-ball is a call shot game, but we also play gentle person's rules. If it's obvious, if I had ball in hand and I put the cue ball here, everybody on the planet knows what I'm doing. But if you're going to do a combination or a bank or some fancy type shot, you do need to call it. And you also need to call the 8. Yeah, Chuck and I learned. All right, what looks good here? Solids or stripes?
I pick stripes.
I see solids.
Leave it. No, I actually, for me, they both look good, but, the only problem with the solids is that the 5 and the 4 are a good distance from the 6-ball, where the stripes are more consolidated, and you have a nice key ball in the 15 to make the 8. But I could see either way. Anybody else have an opinion?
Just go ahead and shoot the 8-ball and be done.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we'll do the stripes. So, to me, the best shot is the 9 to start out with because I want to save the 15. And all I have to do is draw the cue ball back a little bit so I can play the 10. And that'll lead me to the 12. So just a little bit of draw. Oh, by the way, your break cue, when you get it, has a phenolic tip. And it doesn't work well for playing. It works well for exploding the rack, though. All right. And again, chalking, especially when you're drawing or hitting a cue ball with English or high. I could play the 5 on the side. It'll leave me a little bit of angle on the 4 to get down to the 6. So what I'm going to do is go around the rails so I can get more closer to the 4. See, if I hit the 5 too soft, I'll end up down here with a really hard shot. So I have to hit it with a little speed. now that put me in a position where I can make the 4 and then go down for the 6. So I'm gonna roll this in kind of gently. Okay, I got 2 straight on the 6. I would have liked to get an angle so I could get on the 8, but I can draw it back and, you know, play the 8 over there. That 12 is kind of in a bad place too, because it's slightly hindering my shot. Okay. Should have drew it back a little more. We'll play the 8 down there. A couple of things that could happen during a game of 8-ball. I want to point those out so you know the rules a little better. All right, a lot of times you'll have shots like this where you're shooting you already established solids, and you do something like this. That would be a foul ball in hand because I could have tried it first. Okay. But if you have an open table, let's say it's your first shot of the game, and we had that same shot, I could actually go off the 9 with the cue ball, and it would be a legal shot. Okay. Because you know, when it's an open table, you can use a strike to make a solid or a solid to make a strike. But from that point on, you must make a legal shot on your group.
You never use the 8.
Yeah, the 8
It's never neutral.
Exactly. And another thing too, let's say we're in the end game and we only have, let's see, a few balls left. I do something like this. Let's say I call the 8 to win the game and I do this. What would happen if I scratched? I would lose the game, of course. Yeah. All right, here's another situation. Oh, here's the 8. What if I do this? Let's say I have a shot on the 8 in the corner, and I call it, and I do this. What happens? I lose my turn. My opponent would get ball in hand on the 5. It's only if you make the 8 ball out of turn early, or if you scratch on the 8 ball and make it, that you lose. Otherwise, if you scratch on the 8 ball and it doesn't go in, it's ball in hand.
Okay.
So that's some of the weird stuff that can happen. But again, I know a lot of you on scratches are used to playing from the kitchen. They've changed those rules quite a while ago for all tournaments and
I just want you to stay behind the second number.
yeah. Some other organizations have different rules, like ACA and AZBL.
I call it playing in the kitchen.
And I think that Lisa's gonna start the AZPL back up here. Being that, McKay got that league and they're gonna have a big meeting on the 11th to decide what to do.
Perfect.
Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to let you know that, you know, Carl's been working on cues and even fixing cues, putting on tips, all that kind of stuff. So if you need any help during the class, yeah, just ask.
And I gave them all a card.
Oh, okay.
So you can text, call, text,
Good.
whatever.
Anything else for today? I'd focus on, doing the L drill in different ways, and we'll be coming around to help you. Have at it.
Okay.
Yeah.